Is it one killer or is it a series of people?
We don't know, man. That's the thing. Here's the MO every time, modus operandi, is that a young man has had a few drinks, and then you see him on CCTV, which is closed caption TV out in public.
Closed circuit.
And, right. And so you see them very briefly alone, and then no one can find them for like a week. And then they wash up on the shore of Boston. And they have a smiley face imprinted on them, or something, or there's a smiley face nearby. And smiley face, by the way, I have it right over here. I'm doing a book club on it called The Watchmen. The Watchmen has a smiley face. And if you've ever seen the movie The Watchmen, that's the whole thing. Alan Moore, he's a British magician. He's a comic book graphic novelist. So some of the highest magicians, I think, today are writers. They always have been, but I think our community would do well to recognize more of them.
Yeah, definitely. Lon Duquette. I'm a member of the OTO, right?
Yeah.
Lon Duquette, who's a poet and a singer and everything like that, and he writes all the best books. He has a good point in. He says that the best magicians in the world don't even know any incantations or anything like that. They're natural magicians.
Right.
Like a tennis player, or somebody who's just really good at what they do. Those are the best magicians in the world, and so you don't have to go around doing the hocus pocus stuff, and
right, exactly, yeah. Well, it's especially like the hocus pocus stuff is usually, aesthetics anyway. It's usually like some kind of cover over who you are. You know what I mean? And people can see through that more now than they used to, because they've had things like the Church of Satan, where they've seen this incredible psychodrome, you know what I mean, and dressing up and all that, and they've seen the evolution of that. So they're aware of the different orders and factions that are out there, and so people could see through that, I think, a little more of the hocus pocus, but yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not, but the more you think you can see through it, or at least in my personal experience, the harder sometimes it is. It's like what they say: the more you know, the more you find out how little you know.
Exactly.
But these initiation rites,
exactly.
They're profound, I didn't really know it was gonna it hits you, you know what I mean, like a psychological impact, the way they do these damn initiations.
You just describing the story of your ritual that you went through in Mexico was, for me, like it was just like a great book or something. When you were telling that story, I was right there with you. I was you. I had the knife over the grouse. You know what I mean? I saw the statue was right there. You had photos of it too, and it's been covered by Vice and all these different people and all that. And you can see the photos of the thing. It's crazy. So it puts you right there. And then the thing was I can imagine sorceress coming up with the bell and hitting the bell, and you not knowing it, and you just being frightened and taken off into the woods, man. And then what happened? They had to calm you down or something, like a wild beast or something, I don't know. Go ahead.
Yeah, it was a trip, and let me tell you that's I can't believe I fell for the old bell trick, because they've done that to me in these secret societies. They get you in a state of meditation, like all dark, like in a church and stuff like that, and then bing, they ring a bell, and you're like, woo, like that, But he really got me good. So that's an old trick right there.
Yeah, that's like a Hiram Abiff getting hit over the head, right?
Masonry. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But one of the weirdest things about that ritual in that underground tunnel, or that underground cave, is after he rang that bell, and it just put me in a whole different altered state. That was when I turned around and I saw Yane, the beautiful sorceress, and the goat. So somehow they came down those stairs, I don't know how, with a full-size goat and everything, while all this shit was going on, spewing alcohol. Right. I mean, how's that even possible?
That's magic, dude. And have you ever been to Burning Man yet?
No.
You've never been to Burning? You gotta go.
I want to.
It's for you. It's 100% for you, man. You gotta go.
I'll check
it out. You would love it. You would love it, dude. Can't believe you haven't gone,
I
but
know.
that stuff happens 24/7. It gets, there's just coincidences, and you lead to like a pirate ship, that's going around on the playa, that's on really a club, and it's the hottest club around, but it's a pirate ship. Yep. And there's naked women all around, Then you jump off down to your bike or RV, fly to a hookah camp and chill out. I mean, it's just amazing. Like the most amazing things are there. So I don't know if it's still like that. I haven't been in a few years, so. But it used to be like synchronicity upon crazy. To the extent where it was like scary. You had to like chill out a little bit. You had to balance it.
I believe it. And these things that we grew up loving so much, like rock and roll and everything, and now we're starting to learn the CIA its involvement in deep involvement in all this stuff. And they're now saying that Burning Man there's all kinds of federal involvement there.
Huge. Why wouldn't they?
It's a big experiment. They got a front row ticket. They're behind the scenes or doing whatever. Who knows?
They make some of the best art there. Actually, they make this incredible. I think the Cubitron is called. This thing I could look at 24/7. It's just like this LED display that MIT kids came up with, and it makes it look like it's raining, but with LEDs, and if you're looking at it from any direction, unbelievable how they figured this out. It's amazing. But it's sponsored by Blackwater or Academy,
Are you serious? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and like and not just Academy, you're talking like multi-federal national defense organizations and different.
And so you're wondering why are they involved in this? It's very.
FEMA is there, by the way. Katrina happened during Burning Man, by the way, and they knew about it at Burning Man, but there was supposed to be no internet access that year. But somehow these guys knew, and they watched as Katrina hit New Orleans. They didn't do anything about it.
Yeah,
imagine that.
That was
There's a dark side. There's definitely a dark side.
Oh right. Yeah, definitely. I think it's possible Katrina was some type of weather warfare experiment.
Well, I don't know, but the fact is that these people knew that it was going to hit, and they were just like, "Wow, look how cool the data is." I wonder, nerdy kind of people. But it's been on Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan had the guy on. He's like, "Yeah, we were watching it at Burning. I was there that year, and I hung out with that dude, Bruce Damer, I think it is his name." But he ultimately works for the government. He'll straight up say it. He's a smart guy.
I got to reboot my camera every 10 minutes. It's been 20 minutes. Hold on, I just got to turn it on and off.
All right.
Okay, we got it.
You good?
Yeah. You got your guitar?
Yeah. It just helps me think sometimes. I'm like C.W. Chanter, He sits there, but he has his daughter's guitar. Yeah. I was gonna play. Aren't you from Lubbock, Texas?
Yep.
Buddy Holly, right? I love Buddy Holly. I love you, girl, and I want you, baby, too. I want you, baby, too. Oh, my heart, oh, baby, my baby, too. I love you, girl, and I need you, baby, too. Baby Sue, baby Sue, pretty baby Sue, oh baby, my baby Sue. I love you, girl, I need you, Peggy Sue. Anyway, yeah, way out of tune.
Kick ass.
Thank you.
Right, man.
Yeah. But I love Buddy Holly, dude.
Yeah.
What else was there? I mean, all his songs. But he died at what, 21, 22?
I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. I'm thinking maybe more like 24 or 25, but I mean, he died
Right.
young. Young.
Still, yeah. Man, he wrote some great songs, you know.
He really did.
All of that, like, A, D, I don't know. Do you play guitar or anything like that? Musician?
Well, yeah, I'm a musician, and I bought a guitar just the other day. But no, I do my groove boxes. I do. I played piano as younger, but I do. I do my
Cool.
production stuff. But I'm doing all music with groove boxes and keyboards and stuff.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
But
As long as you,
I play in bands,
you're,
but I'm a front man, vocalist.
oh, you make a great vocalist. Yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be cool. Oh,
I'm pretty
yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You probably aren't playing much Buddy Holly in those bands, right?
No, I'm not. And I was doing a metal act, Texas Death Chamber.
Oh, wow. Is that the name? Look at that. I like that.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
But
Nice.
I've gotten. I'm going towards EDM right now. I'm going to do these. Want to do festivals and stuff like that.
Oh, cool. Yeah, there's a lot of festivals. My friend Tim did a whole show about this festival. He set up this festival. It's called the Electric Sun Desert Festival, right? He has this band called Dakar. And he set up this festival in, where was it, Apple Valley, California, or something like that. And 20 kids died because he handed out these vape pens that had like, this poison from China. And 20 kids died. And this guy, Dr. San, who was with him, was putting like crystals around the bodies and stuff, which was weird. And,
Why did the kids die?
Mhm.
Why did the kids die?
They had a trial on it, and well, Tim is not guilty, so that's all. You know what I mean? But
So he intentionally poisoned them.
no. He's found not guilty about that.
Oh.
Yeah, found guilty, but they did prosecute him for that. Like it was pretty obvious to them that he handed out these vape pens that he had, to the kids, and that had this weird chemical from China, plus whatever Dr. San was putting in there. He was a crazy new age lunatic that would like pray about, like he did acupuncture, and Tim would like broke out, pimples all over his face, pretty much. I mean, just these terrible sores, and he was sick, and burned his body and stuff. I mean, terrible thing. Lost his girlfriend, Ayaka. Wasn't nice to Mark. But like, all his friends, it was just bad situation. So, but anyway, he's gonna be rocking with Takash, and he's got to go enter. Anyway, there's a festival, and they all died. But
Wow.
he's not.
So now, do you know James Casbolt?
Not personally. No.
Okay.
No. But I've done a lot of research, man.
Well,
research.
You know this guy Alexander Verkowitz. I'm not sure if I'm saying his name right, but he's the man who interviewed Max Spears on the trampoline and all that stuff.
Oh, the Polish dude?
Yeah, I've been in contact with him.
Really? Do you know him?
I don't know. I reached out to him to ask him if he would appear on my show. And this is after the Max Spears deal. And he was interested in doing it. And then about a year ago, just January, February, or March, he got with me. And when we were supposed to do it, he couldn't do it because he had a court date. He didn't say what it was for, but I can almost imagine.
Wow, dude.
But you think he was involved?
That's not good.
You think he was involved?
Well, obviously, because he was there with a microphone while a person couldn't talk.
Yeah, he's involved.
I was like, right now, if I was like, and Ken and the can't poop and can't better, and wouldn't you say, Brennan, are you okay? You know what I mean? Instead of just like carrying on with the interview.
Yeah.
Of course you would. Anybody would.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And there was this weird. I can't get over these weird cracks in the last interview. These weird cracks.
You know what? Somebody
kind of frightens me.
Well, you know what somebody said it was? It said they were dropping books because he was falling asleep and they'd drop a book to wake him up.
Come on, dude. You can think of a way more efficient way. Well, how about clap? How about clap in someone's face? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Drop a book. Oh, boy. Like, you can't. Huh? No, it does not sound like a book being dropped. I'm sorry. I'll drop a book. It does not sound like
You're right. You're right. That's good. That's a good point.
The very quick whip. It's like almost like a whip, okay? It's a whip, maybe. And I think that there's a fire nearby because at one point the girl who's with him says, "There's a fire. The fire agrees with you," or something like this. And so I think I don't know, man. Who knows what happened? I know if you were intensely under some crazy drugs that were making your body naturally sweats to try to repel them because you're going through an immune system response, and that's what he was going through. But a way to totally kill your immune system, if you're sweating, is to push you in front of a fire. He must have thought he was cold and like sweating. Oh, let's get you next to a fire, and that fire obviously gave him hypothermia and did not help the situation. If there was a fire there, and I mean, accordingly there was, right? Don't you think there was a fire?
I didn't know about the fire.
Well, you gotta go back and listen. You know what I mean?
Right, because you can't see it because they didn't give the video; they just gave the audio.
Right, another telling thing. But,
Exactly.
But they did include him jumping on a tambourine, what is it?
Trampoline.
Trampoline.
Yeah. I was trying to remember that.
So he was jumping on a trampoline, and it was all like Max's mom took it like how horrible, how you don't, and put it was almost embarrassing, you know what I mean, in a way. Like I don't know what they were thinking. If they were doing that, they were more rational. And it's just there's a lot of culpability there, and it hasn't been investigated, and there's nothing Poland will do because they're Poland, and that's their jurisdiction, and they suck as a country. I'm sorry. But they can't get to the bottom of this, dude. If I was over there, I would speak to those people right in a heartbeat, man. You know what I mean? Too. But who knows? Maybe there's some protection for them. I don't know, man.
Well, there is, because obviously they were able to keep a dead body. The cops came and then they left the dead body with them. That would never happen in the United States.
Good point, man.
Never would that happen.
That's an excellent point. Yep, that's true. So Poland, it's an ex-communist Russian proxy state, at one point. So it's deeply depressed, you know what I mean? I can only imagine, but there's a lot of interest in there. But there's been some deceptive things, but I would still sit down and talk with whoever interviewed him, just for information, to get information.
Yeah.
What happened, why you didn't do something, or did you do something, or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, wasn't he with Stuart Swordlow just like the day before?
Well, supposedly. I don't know if there's a record of it. According to Max, he was. But there are some photographs of him and Stuart and some other woman. I don't know if it's Stuart's wife. I don't think so. But it's some blonde lady. And what's her name? I forget. I always forget her name. But anyway, her and together, and Stuart and stuff like that. And I saw it coming, man. I was like, well, he's over there with Stuart. What's going on? And it just, there was some behavior before that made me suspicious and stuff. And just kind of scared for him. Because,
you knew he was going to die. You knew he was in danger?
No, well, I knew something like you never know with Max, because he could say these things to you, and then it would be totally cool, and he'd go to a conference or something, and nothing would ever happen. People do speak that way.
Yeah,
but I don't know if it was that, but he created there was a Facebook profile created that I didn't really buy at first. It was called Max Spirals, and it was created, I think, right at the point where something happened. I'm not going to say what. I have my own theory of what happened. I know what happened. But something happened in his personal life that made him make a decision, and I think he unfortunately got hooked up with the wrong people. Maybe got his hand on the wrong pill or something in Poland, the wrong drugs. I mean, over here, Ayin, dude, I don't like going on Facebook anymore or social media because I see so many friends die from whatever the drugs are getting on the street, It's really scary, and famous ones, people do too, but on a personal level, That's scary. So it can happen, and it happened. I think it just happened with Max. Unfortunately, was it a setup? I don't know, man. But my heart tells me something was wrong for sure. There's a question, man.
I think it
There
was a
was
setup.
a question. But on the other hand, what's interesting is, people have accused Michael Aquino of murdering Matt Spears. And and Simon Parks has said that on his show. Simon Parks said that he accuses Michael Aquino of murdering Matt. I don't know if he said accuses, but he said it like in the one. What's the name of that show with JP? Whatever the name is. But he said that like right afterwards. It took him like a couple of weeks. He's a wicked nice. I like Simon a lot. I love, I like British gentleman. He's a nice guy, great guy. But as far as I know, I like JP a lot. I've been on JP's show, but I don't know if I would say something like that without having to back it up a little bit. What I mean?
Right. And, so it's just a narrative. But now, did you know that I've been in contact with Colonel Aquino?
No, I did not know you were. No.
And the reason I reached out to him was not necessarily about Max, but I was aware of that, and I'm not going to say what my feelings were on that, but Joanne Hart was also accusing Michael Aquino of these things, and
yes,
she said that he was attacking her in her dreams.
Yes.
And so we're talking about this is a very powerful man. Okay, so I reached out to him. Miles Johnson interviewed him on his new books, Mind Wars or whatever, and I was going to do the same thing just to get the perspective. And I reached out to Colonel Michael Aquino, and he was very charming and very nice guy. And he wrote back to me, and he declined the interview. And the reason he gave was that he was afraid that me and Bridget were going to get him in that hot tub. I shit you not. I'm going to print that email out and show it to people. He's funny.
He say that.
He's a sick man. I like that guy. But that's why I thought that Max Spears was going to be assassinated. He was going after Michael Aquino hard and heavy, and he was also going after another group. And I would prefer it if you don't mention their name because it's already been mentioned. We talked about him just a little while ago.
Okay, yeah, I think I know you know. Yeah.
Some people I know.
Okay, fair enough. Hey, to those people, by the way, my family has been involved in that sort of order too, in all kinds of different Freemasonic orders. My whole family is involved in mystery school stuff. I just happen to take a different route. You know what I mean? Spiritually, I tried everything. I see a lot of mysticism in the Opus Dei Catholic faith. And by the way, James Caswell always has a few things to say about the Opus Dei, which I think is sensational. But there is a truth that there is a lot of Opus Dei in the intelligence agencies out there. Sure, because they're very disciplined, people.
Oh yeah, and apparently they actually believe in Jesus, from what I understand.
Well, you get some people, not everyone of them.
Right.
There's a lot of Mormons too, surprisingly. Some of the Mormons are like very meticulous, but and of course different Jesuits and stuff like that. But I think times have changed, So.
Yeah, we're living in the days of the revelation of the hierarchies, or the revelation of the method, as the Masons call it.
That's it. Absolutely.
All will be revealed,
Yeah, and we just have to figure it out. Like, we have the tools with us, man. You don't need much. All right, if you study just the Kabbalah with the tarot over at the Western divination arts, just the Kabbalah, the Tree of Life, if you study that, you'll be able to read a story and see all the Kabbalistic elements on it. Look, you can see them in this, in the astrological elements and the different secrets and traditions of the mystery schools, which are, people think it's like some kind of, at one point I did. I thought it was some kind of intellectual exercise. But it's really something you have to actually physically feel and be incredibly aware of, just like any religious system, so...
Yeah, and there is something to these initiations.
Yeah.
I kind of even thought that that's what it was that you just go in a dark room and there's some hocus pocus and they scare you or some shit like that. And that all that shit does happen. But goddamn, when some shit starts happening, you're like, what the fuck? You know what I mean?
Dude, I would not. I mean, that's like for you, man. Putting you in a situation like that is wow. I'm surprised you're still alive. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, or they are, or one or the other. You
Well,
know?
they do kind of get concerned about me on some of these, and they ask me a lot of questions and shit because I'm hard to handle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't want
Well,
somebody
I
to
don't want to freak you out too much. You know, I mean, that
exactly. It can be dangerous.
oh, geez, man. But it must be something, man, to let you go wild, man. That's crazy. Man. It must have felt. So you going back again, or no?
To Mexico, definitely,
No,
definitely,
yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
and Peru too. The main reason I went to Peru was to look at these elongated skulls, and
Mm-hmm.
because that's something I've been fascinated with since I was a child, and that topic of the elongated
Love.
skulls is
Yeah.
so fucking hot right now. It's hot.
Is it? Yeah, I've heard a lot about it, man. You know, yeah.
Well,
David Wilk. Yeah.
Gaia TV
Yeah.
put on a program, and they got these scientists that we know, and they took one of these bodies to the University of Colorado. Okay,
Really?
yeah, they've got the scientists there and everything have it. And here's the deal: I've been studying these elongated skulls, and I was like, well, where's the body? I want to see the body. And what they tell us is they say, oh, well, the heads were considered sacred, so they threw away the bodies. Yeah, right.
Hmm.
That's why there's just a
Right.
bunch of elongated skulls. Well, the truth is that you don't ever see the bodies because they don't want you to see the bodies because
Right.
of the body that anyone can go look at, or you can look at it right now on Gaia, just on the preview of them looking at it in the University of Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
It's mostly like a human, but it has 3 fingers and 3 toes.
Hmm.
And I mean,
Wow.
it's a mummy. It's a skeleton. Jay, what Widener is there looking at it, and some other
They,
scientists. It is not fake.
you don't think it's fake? No way.
No,
So you
no,
disagree?
they're doing MRI scans and shit with one of the world's top experts. This lady, she doesn't even care about this shit, but she's sitting here saying it would be impossible to fake this shit. Impossible.
Hmm.
I mean, they've got this
Hmm.
the skeleton.
Dude, I can't. I don't care what comes out. I haven't personally seen it. You know, so I reserve judgment. I'm not saying it's true or false.
Let me tell you, I've seen that.
Wow.
That's an elongated skull, and I have
You
been.
seen that one?
If that's skull number 176, I've seen about 6 or 7 of them. I was down there in
Wow.
Peru, but the most famous one in the world is called skull number 176 because it's written on a marker 176 on the side of the skull, probably like it back in the 50s or 60s.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it
Yep.
also is across the forehead. It was written chongo, which is Spanish for monkey. So I'm thinking maybe it's a
Okay.
derogatory term. They're putting that down these thinking they're ape men or something like this.
Right, right.
But this is the most famous skull in the world and I was less than 3 inches from it. I mean, there was only glass between me and it.
Hmm.
This shit's
Well, they
real.
might have put monkey because they thought it was a monkey skull or something. Maybe I don't know.
Well, it's much.
They
It's
were that dumb.
oh
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
to
The
not think
science,
it
the
was.
scientists do.
But that's incredible. You know, I mean, how do you explain that? You know what I mean? There isn't an explanation.
Well,
Really. Some people have. They said that people take the skulls in early in birth and even pre-birth and form them like that and stuff. But
let me tell you, when you go to the museums or the museo, especially the government ones in Peru, they've got a big
yeah,
display that shows that's called cradle boarding. What you're talking about is called cradle boarding.
okay, yeah, yeah,
That
that's
is a
right.
worldwide
Yeah.
phenomenon. It is true. It's absolutely true. If you go, the museum was there, it was giving examples of cradle boarding. In other words, they were on the cool telling you that all of these elongated skulls were from cradle boarding, which
Hmm.
is fucking ridiculous because there's no amount of
Wow.
cradle boarding is going to make your head bigger. They're
Right,
binding it. It's
right,
not going to make it bigger.
right. Yeah, no, yeah.
But the
I know.
morphology of the skulls, and some people call them Homo capensis, the morphology of the skulls is completely different. In other words, you and I, we have 3 plates on the top of our head. We
Right.
have a right and left occipital plate, and then this front plate, the scientific name for it is actually the frontal plate. That's the scientific
Wow.
name. It's called the frontal plate. So you and me have
Yeah,
three
yeah,
plates. These people just have two, front and back. They don't have a sagittal suture. You know that little squiggly line that goes down the back of your head that looks like a jigsaw puzzle?
Yeah.
They don't have that.
Oh wow.
Okay, not only that, the volume of their head is much bigger, and I'm going to get to that in a second. But not only that, so that we got the morphology of the skull. Then you've got their jawbone is very robust. Their jaws
Really?
are like way bigger than ours. I mean, you wouldn't be able to break their jaw.
So
Okay,
giant.
and another thing is their eyes. Their eyes are much rounder than ours,
Whoa.
much bigger than ours, and
Huh.
they're much more shallow. Our eyes go deep within our head, and really, if you look at a human eye, it's more like an upside down triangle.
Is
Theirs are
it?
like completely round.
I see what you're saying. Okay, wow, that's
They
amazing.
are
Wow.
not human. Yeah, they are definitely not human. And cradle boarding can't is a sign for why they're getting bigger. Now let me tell you one of the most fascinating things, and nobody told me this. I found this out on my own.
Hmm.
In the Homo sapiens sapiens, human beings, for the most part, we know that men in general are larger than women. For the most part,
Right.
sure, you're going to find there's chicks that are bigger than you and chicks that are bigger than me, but it's much more rare. But we're all about the same size. Now, interestingly enough, just like that movie with John Travolta, where he did the Ron L. Hubbard movie, Planet Earth or Battlefield Earth.
Battlefield Earth. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
check this out, Brandon. What I personally discovered, no one told me this. Every example of an elongated skull that you see, especially in these museums, they're all female.
Right.
Because of the Homo capensis, the male skull is about twice the fucking size.
What?
Yes, that's why
What?
they show female skulls, because they're closer to our own. These big fucking skulls belong to chicks. The dude skulls are
Damn.
like 21 inches long.
Wow. So, what do you think? If that's true, then what do you think? Like,
Well, let
do
me
you
tell
think
you, Maria.
giants?
Well, no. I make a difference between giants and Homo capensis, coneheads, the Paracas people, whatever you want to call them.
Mhm.
Okay, now Maria Wheatley, who does all the stuff
Yeah.
in Stonehenge, she has
Great.
recently discovered within the last couple of years there's mass burial sites at Stonehenge of the long-headed motherfuckers. They were all rounded up and executed.
Stonehenge?
Yes,
Wow.
Stonehenge. It's full of those, but they weren't. It's not. I'm not saying that
Right.
they built it. They were rounded up there and executed, like 1,000 of them in a mass grave. So the long-headed people were hunted down all throughout the world. Now check this out. This
Hmm.
is I came up. I'm sure someone else has
So
figured.
they were being hunted, you're saying?
Yes,
Uh,
worldwide. They were eliminated worldwide. Okay,
wow. And
and they were all over the world. And this rock wall in Rockwall, Texas, that Josh Reeves has done the work on, where there's
yeah, he's great.
high tech shit. That is there's long-handed deals associated with that too.
Wow.
They're all over.
Um, I usually don't believe, but in what Mormons do and stuff. But on this point, they're correct. I think they've done pretty good work on the archaeology and stuff like that when it comes to alternative theories into human ancestry. And I think like there's a reason why we have myths of the Olympians or the gods. I think, and there's a physicality of the gods that we don't think of nowadays, and there is a sense that there is an overarching absolute God that is everything, absolutely everything, positive, negative, whatever. But then there are all these other gods, forces of nature, the Neteru or whatever that in Egyptian, that oversee these things and get personified. But what some people postulate is that no, these aren't just energies that are intellectual or that you feel or whatever that every person feels or sees or whatever. These are actually people. This is a bloodline. These are real people that actually exist that come out every so often when to make history. I guess where are they now? I don't know. Antarctica. I don't know. But it's interesting, and there is evidence for it. So it's something that I think no one can say again, man, they're right about 100% or they're wrong about 100%. You know,
And
but good.
that is one of the reasons, Brandon, that I went down there to Peru, because it's like, yes, you can look at these pictures for your whole life, look at pictures of aliens or whatever, but until you get on the UFO yourself or you touch one yourself, you don't really know.
Right.
And I have
Right.
not met an alien or anything, but I have been right there with those skulls, and they're not human. They are
And
absolutely not human.
you were also, now maybe this would be a good segue on the Ghost Light Road. Now for me, that orb that you saw with the little entities inside of it looks a lot like, what is it? There's a type of a guy just came out with it like last year. My friend John Rasmus did a video on this. It's really good. It's some kind of telescope that is able to see invisible entities, orbs, and stuff like that. And what it showed was exactly what was on your videotape. This, speck of light, basically, where they can be big, they can be small, they can be different sizes. And there's activity going on inside of the orb. You know what I mean? So that happens, man. That really happens. I don't know if it really happened, but I believe in that. I've seen some orbs for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it really did. I think there still needs to be scientific forensic studies done on my videos, because
yeah, I like that you do that.
On that second one that I did with Kevin McCarty, where I went on number 4, and he ended up thinking it was fake, even though he was sitting there, right there at the time. That was a high strangeness, but it was making a sound. You can hear it on the video. It's like, woo, 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 you know what I mean? You can hear it.
Yeah. Well, you sound frightened as all heck, And
yeah, well, that's
so,
I think they hit me with the wall of fear.
Yeah, that happened, right?
Yeah, because you hear that Bigfoot does the same thing too. They can project fear into you.
We don't like to talk about that, man.
I don't either, especially me. I'm Mr. Tough Guy.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, and I'm about to piss my pants like a little girl.
Dude, I can kick ass, all right, on a physical level, man. I'm trained martial artist, I'm trained weightlifter, a jocker. I know I come off really nice. But don't judge a book by its cover, man.
Exactly, yeah.
But, you know what I mean? But when it comes to something, I remember just having something, exactly as you say, just about 2-3 months ago. This entity I saw at the end of my hallway. So this red entity. I felt before even that happened. It was right before dawn too. This is right before dawn. Okay, I feel this. Something is in way down the hall. Way down the hall. Let's say if we go out way down this hall. Okay, at the very end. I knew somebody here. Kind of feeling like if somebody came in your house right now. Someone came in.
Uh-huh.
And so they were down the hall. I felt like there was a presence down the hall. And I knew something was up immediately. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm going to get up. And I couldn't move. I got to move. I'm like, all right, well, I'll see what it is. Couldn't move. What? Oh, all right. So couldn't move, and then got up, and I couldn't get up, and then I thought I could see, which was very odd, man. Because you can't really move your eye because there's some kind of awareness there. And I saw this little red thing float down on top of my head. What it did was try to project this fear into me, and it came at me hardcore, and I was like, why is everything? It was beyond fear. It was loathing and disgust and just vile, putrid.
That you felt towards it?
Huh?
That these were your feelings about the light.
It was, I don't call it light. It was like smoke fire. It was smoke plus fire. It was like a gin kind of. Small and I don't know if it was light, but yeah, it was red. And what was the other question? It floated? Yeah, it floated.
But
yeah.
it made you feel revulsion.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. You know what I mean. So I was like, I would kick this thing's ass. But even as a physical thing, anything I would fight. If someone broke into my house, I'd kill them.
Uh-huh.
But this thing comes at me. There's nothing I can do. So I'm like, So I was like, let's see what you got. And there was nothing I can do. So I was just physically, spiritually, mentally was like, do your worst. I'll still be here. I know I'll overcome. And it came at me, man. It came at me. It held my tongue down at the same time. Had pressure on my throat, right here in my throat. It's just a very light pressure. I went, but it was still strong enough where we like can't breathe right. It hung down on my tongue. And by the way, I have 4 or 5 or 6, 7 ex-girlfriend witches that are just constantly casting spells at me. So I put a mirror to all of them. But it happens, right? In spiritual warfare, you gotta be ready for it.
I know it. And then next thing you know, we end up with beautiful woman after beautiful woman. It just so happens every one of them thinks they're a witch and probably is.
Right. Dude, it happens. Over Christmas, I was like, I wonder how my ex-girlfriend's doing. I'm looking up on the internet, and I see a photo. Then she's an artist or whatever, but she's selling this photo of art, and it's a doll, right? It's a doll. It's a voodoo doll, basically. With my pants that I used to wear. She made like a doll out of my pants, and it's like dressed up and but it has a rabbit's head.
Oh my gosh!
Has these weird eyes and stuff. Oh,
dude, that's scary, man.
Oh, that's just one girl, and I don't know. Witchy women just kind of attracted to me. I'm attracted to them or something. I don't know, but they get mad at me because whatever.
Yeah.
Long story.
They've been getting me like that, but especially this year. I had that Kundalini awakening, but that was precipitated. Yeah, I was not looking for one, didn't want one, and that was a big one. That happened like last February. I was doing under a doctor's care, doing my weight training and stuff, and there was a lot of other stuff going on. But there's the lady who prescribed me of that or told me about that. I've known her for 31 years, and she's a psychic, and her name is Kira, and she lives in Colorado. Okay, well, there's another lady involved, and this is a lady who's basically my girlfriend, and she left 2 days ago. She's a Hollywood director, and she's filming.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's filming a movie in Cuero, Texas, right now, and she's also one of the most beautiful women in the world. I mean, now that right there, I mean, how did I end up with her? I have no fucking idea. I mean, it's just weird. Well, anyway, we got together, and I hadn't seen her in years and everything, and I asked her on a date and everything, but anyway, when it started. Neither one of us thought we were going to have sex or anything, but that night she was wanting my sperm to have a baby, and then and she's and then she was telling me as we were having sex that she was giving me an anointing. Yeah. Right. And then less than 2 weeks later, I had this like big, almost like nervous breakdown. I on this like these. I have a personal trainer where I can only work out in the gyms when no one is around because I'm just like yelling at the top of my lungs,
You're intense. Yeah.
But so they got me really worked up on that, and so I went home and took a nap with my dog, and I woke up crying uncontrollably.
Man. Wait, after the workout session?
A couple hours after I went to sleep and then woke up. Huh?
The one that you have on film?
The mini work. Yeah, that was one of those workout sessions.
Oh, wow. So you have it on film that day that you had the Kundalini awakening?
Yes. Well, see, so I could not stop crying. And so I reached out to Kira, who is a life coach, and she's also into all this woo-woo stuff. I did not realize how far her training was. She's a energy mover, okay? And I had not had really any paranormal experiences my whole life until less than a year ago. I had this Kundalini awakening. I was crying. She gave me her number. She said, call me. We started talking. Right off the bat, she started asking me these questions, and then she's like, do you feel that? And I'm like, what? And she started moving energy in my body from over 1,000 miles away.
No kidding.
And now when we talk, she talks to the guides in real time. She doesn't have to go in a trance or anything. And she's sitting there dictating this shit to me from other worlds when I have these meetings with her.
My grandmother would be that in like today's society, but she was that like in the 20s, you know what I mean? Like back in those days. So Um, but yeah, it runs in the family, man. I'm very used to it. A lot of people hate that and they say you can't. It's a sin to do it. But I don't think so. I think it's just natural to study things and to learn about, things like that. And it just human behavior. There happens to be these certain people. I would say, have you ever heard of? She'd be great on here. Jenny Moonstone, a girl named Jenny Moonstone. You do. All right, she's been on Rex's channel a few times. Yeah, because you were on Rex's channel. So Jenny's been on the show. She's a friend, and she's awesome. She does a show with Heidi Vandenberg, where she reads tarot cards. Now, I have a very high standard when it comes to somebody reading tarot cards, doing a divination art, whether it's Michael Thessarion, whether it's Rob Ellis, whether it's whoever it is. Mike Lucchino or whoever it is, I just hold them to a standard when they talk about Kabbalah, divination art, Santos Bonacci, astrology, things like that. And I want to say, like, the stuff that from, who were we talking about just now? Sorry. Jenny is great, like they're Heidi and Jenny. Okay, so it's so hard to explain because somebody is that is so intuitive, like that gets it. It's like it's so rare. You know what I mean? Like when you find somebody that is no bullshit. Like she's no bullshit, and that's what I know. I know that's something good because I've had that connection before with other people when I was 4 years old. I told, I think, Jerry Cthulhu once, but I haven't gotten into it much. But I'll tell you, Ryan, you might like this. I was in a gifted and talented program. I don't know if I mentioned it, but I think I did in this interview. But what this was during the years of kindergarten through high school and beyond. I was in a class with these so-called advanced kids and gifted and talented kids and stuff. But I was a jock. I was playing basketball and football, you know what I mean?
Right.
And none of the kids in the GT program were. I was, and I had all these cool friends, and they were on my basketball team. So I was like, I'm going to pick sports and not get in the GT program. Well, anyway, that was way later on in life. When I was 4 years old, up until 4th grade, about that, I was paired with a girl. A young girl. She would sit behind me in every class. She would sit right behind me. And we had this connection where I could read her mind, she could read my mind. We knew exactly what was going on with each other, even though we were sitting in class and just talking to each other. And to the point where, and I know this will sound silly, but it's true, we could make each other feel things. You know what I mean? We could make each other feel Peter Pants and stuff like that. Like that happens. There was a joke in Stranger Things. They said that. No one got it. But that's really, I think, where it's coming from. But anyway, so we were paired. What would happen? Okay, is I didn't know what this was just school with me. I didn't know this was a big deal. You know what I mean? This happens to a lot of kids. I'm not special. I'm just saying, that just happened. In fact, I can show you the documents from Boston College, written by Jesuit teachers who write about from the School of Education at Harvard and BC and University of Boston, all this stuff, where they talk about implementing this gifted and talented program to select these youngsters that will excel in the fields of science and humanity and yada, yada, yada. And it's true. They do that. And I wasn't part of it, right? But I was a bit of a rebel on that. Anyway, this girl and I had this connection. I would go off into a room a lot of times, and it would be kind of an office, and there would be a proctor there. So I would just, draw whatever you want. Draw whatever I want. Okay, think of numbers and whatever. So all these stupid things. I didn't know what was going on for a year or two until her and I talked about it. And I found out that while I was thinking okay, they say things like, draw a triangle. And I would draw it 3-dimensionally, okay? I thought it was me being smart. What they really wanted to see What I didn't know was that she, the girl that sits behind me, Lauren, was in the other wing of the school getting the same test at the same time. And we were matching up about 85% of the time, which was pretty good for psychical research and stuff. And it was some weird connection that they found. So, hence, we were together for every class for 4 years, which is pretty amazing. So that happens, man. That's why I like Stranger Things, is because there's a character, 11, who is a girl and young and has these psychic powers. So it's like, I knew that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She was powerful, man. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, that wasn't a coincidence. It's not like they tested y'all and said, oh, well, these two are smarter, might be psychic, and put y'all together. They had information about y'all's bloodlines or something.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Jesuits have all that information. Even before the internet and everything, they know everything about everybody.
Yep, before the internet. They had everything was written down, and I mean, you better believe it. Like, that was like everything. Every second had to be recorded,
Yeah, this one guy, he told a story of a Jesuit a priest or whatever, and this was back in the 50s or something, and this guy, he found out he had a new girlfriend, and the guy, I guess, was trying to impress him. He said, yeah, come here. And they went down to his living room, and they took the rug off the floor, and there was a secret stairway there. And they went down there, and there was a whole room filled with filing cabinets. And he asked the guy, he said, what's her name? And he told her, and he went over there and got the file, and had everything about her.
No way.
Yes.
No way.
Everything. They've got everything on all of us.
Wow, I believe it, man. I believe it. Listen, I've seen a little bit, not a lot, of the Secret Vatican Archive, and I've been to some of the I've been to some of the Power of Winds, and which is great in the Vatican, because it's like, imagine the Sistine Chapel but alchemical. So it would have, there's a hole of light where the moon is, and the moon passes over this beautiful and illuminates this thing, while the sun does the same thing over here, and then Sirius is over here, and Neptune's here, and Saturn's right on the bull, or Aldebaran is right there. It's beautiful, man. It's amazing. So they definitely have a lot of art. They have a lot of knowledge that a lot of people don't know about. For example, I mean, Walter Bosley talks a lot about Disney as well. I used to work for Disney for a summer, which was interesting. That's a production unto itself. It's like a state. It's crazy. It's like almost like it's the closest thing you can get to a tyranny.
To a what?
A tyranny that you can get away with.
Yeah.
They are so powerful now. They also control Disney and Last Jedi. I don't know if you saw The Last Jedi. I have feelings about it, but I do, and I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Anyway, that's Disney. But I used to work for them. Those people are interesting. Anyway, the spiral staircase. There's a lot of hidden caves in New England area where I'm from. There's a lot of Norse rocks and etchings and Phoenician writings. So for a fact that the history that Columbus discovered America is completely wrong.
That's total bullshit, yeah.
Yeah, once you awaken to those facts, history is wrong. It's going to take a while for me to find out what the truth is, if I ever know what the truth is. Socrates said that he was the wisest. Well, the oracle at Delphi said to him that he was the wisest man in the world. And he was like, I have to find the wisest man in the world, because I'm not it. So in that sense, it's the same. But
yeah, it's fascinating. They've discovered that there's an American tribe of Indians, supposed Indians, that are very Chinese looking. They speak Japanese, and they all have names like Yokohama and stuff like that. They're I don't know if they're Iroquois or what, but yeah, the whole history of the world that we've been presented with is just a complete lie.
Yeah, you were just saying about names and people, right? They have in Asia. Well, that's very interesting, man, because I noticed I used to go out with a Vietnamese girl, and her father he worked in the communist government, in Vietnam. I mean, I didn't care. I was going out with her. She's nice, and one thing led to another, and I ended up meeting the guy, and he, really nice guy, but everybody was named Trang. That's just such a common name. I saw it on a jersey the other day, I think, on like a basketball jersey. Guy had Trang. I was like, dude, that's Vietnamese. Like, I thought it was just, you think with names, I love names, Names to a lot,
They really
And,
do. You know, yeah, I was just contemplating the name Young, but as I did that, I was also contemplating the name Brandon, and this just
yes.
now came to me. Of course, Brandon, we know about Brandon, the many things Brandon can make, but it's also brand on, and I can't really reveal the secret.
Yeah.
But the word O-N, I was in one secret society, and they told me at the very bottom, the word is on. The word is on.
Nice.
O-N,
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. My middle name is Marshall, so I always saw that as Mars Hall.
I can't believe it. Yes, it's so obvious. Yeah, of course.
That was after reading Manly P. Hall, and which was quite a few years ago. But I always saw it as Mars Hall. And at any university, there's always a Mars Hall. There's something to do with that. You know what I mean? Have you ever noticed that? There's always a Mars Hall.
No, but you're right. You're right.
Maybe not every university, but a lot of them. There's a Mars Hall. Anyway, I just think that it's interesting because Mars represents the martial, sort of warlike, masculine properties.
And their color is red.
Red.
Blood red, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. That was the color of that deity.
The color of the what?
That was the color of the entity.
That jinn or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Now,
so maybe it was masculine energy.
This is very interesting because
sexual.
It put a sexual energy on you, or
maybe,
or it gave you a dream, a
red,
sexual dream.
Red is that chakra, right?
Red it's an activation color for sure. When I had this 2.5 long hour interview with Christopher Jacobs the other day, well, my girlfriend came into the interview, and there's a deal where I've got one of the videos is just her, and I'm there too, but her face is blocked off to protect her identity.
On the show.
And let me tell you, because one of our friends, or two different psychics I know, diagnosed her as having a problem right now. And so she brought it up to Christopher Jacobs, and he described the exact same thing that these other two ladies were describing, and that is a crack in her head with some black fluid or something like that coming out of it, and entities attached right there, like sucking the juice out of her head or whatever.
Like a scuttler for real.
That's it. Yeah, that's what. When they said that, I was thinking scuttler.
They said that too?
No. I was thinking scuttler because you and me have been talking about scuttlers recently. Miles Johnson. Yeah. It's all these correspondences. You know what I mean?
Dude, people don't realize, you got to look up Tim Refat, and because no one's heard of him. But he's on rent sometimes, and I randomly heard him deconstructing a Katy Perry video, and it was very good. And he knew a lot about the mid Golden Dawn tradition. A lot. I knew just from going over the cave, but it was funny at the same time. And he's from England, And so I tuned in. I went to his website, which is just incredible. I mean, it's just like The Last Jedi. He has all these services which you can buy for whatever amount of money. Pretty expensive, but there's an MP3 to go along with every service, and there are upgrades as well. And he's like the leading authority on remote viewing in England. And he sees England as being he's a Sisyphus of the Illuminati. He claims he's the Sisyphus and or whatever, however we say it. And he was adept major, adept minor, all that stuff, right? So he was this. He says that he was taught by MI6 Colin Bloy, who was an ex-MI6 agent who came across a Grail stone and all these things, and taught him all the mystery schools. And now he's implementing his psychic warfare with his crystals and all these things that he does. Now it's interesting with Tim Refat. what were you saying right before that? So I
Well,
can
we were talking about these. Tim Riffat. Yeah, and I've heard of him. He's associated with David Icke's channel. That guy who works for David Icke's channel has interviewed Tim Riffat, or he talks about him.
Oh, no, Jeff Rentz. Yeah, Jeff
No,
Rentz.
no, not Jeff Rentz. It's an English guy. But anyway, I'm not. How we got onto that was the entity attachment or the scuttler.
Oh, so yeah, thank you. So Tim Riffat talks about these entities. He says if you look at reality has a black um, fabric laid over it, an invisible black fabric laid over it. And what these entities do, and this black fat fabric goes with like your house or with any building. And that's why Masonic monuments are so important, because they have this energy and they conduct this energy and they attract these energy these energies and these statues that have a real power, true power there, And people think they're concrete, but really they're like these supercharged for the initiate. They're supercharged, not even just the initiate.
They're like crystals. They're like orgone or something.
Right. People should with this exact reverence, and they have that if you really let yourself into it. Like, the Lincoln Monument's one of them. When you go to the Lincoln Monument, you look up, that dude is huge. And he's sitting there. That is the judge right there. That is the judge, right?
That's Saturn, right?
It's Saturn, exactly, man. And DC is laid out exactly in that classical fashion, too. And I love DC. I used to go to DC ever since I was a kid. Smithsonian, run around there in the park, in the mall, all around there. And I've been to the White House a few times and stuff like that. It's a fantastic city of secrets. It really is. And not just DC, but the surrounding area, like Virginia and all that. Very interesting, man. A lot goes on backroom shady deals there. Same in any city, but especially DC, for sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, so these scuttlers, dude, what they do is they attract themselves to these buildings and these nodal points, I call them, or Tim Riffat calls them to that too. These kind of lymph nodes, your body has lymph nodes in them?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so you gotta, and there's some back here on your armpit and stuff like that. So these entities will attach through that, you call it the 670 matrix. And it's kind of gruesome, but basically they suck the energy. They stay attached to an entity. It doesn't matter if it's a human entity or if it's an animal entity, because it can happen to cats and it can happen to dogs, and actually it can happen to goldfish. Some people say definitely lizards too. I would say nothing living is immune to this. But so these scuttlers supposedly suck off the living, what they call the bioplasm of that energy. If in the scene in the Matrix where Keanu Reeves wakes up, and that robot comes up and is like, "What's up?" It's like, and then he gets out of the Matrix and he's bald, and how he wakes up and he's in that hive, that never-ending field of people in just cocoons, for their whole lives. Anyway, that fluid that he's in, I think represents the bioplasm that we produce, and that's what's being harvested by those matrix entities, dude. That's it. That is it. That's exactly
I agree.
And they got the color right. They got the color right. They got the consistency right, because it's kind of it's a very gooey plasma. And the dark side of this, and Miles hasn't heard about this yet, so if he ever wants to talk about it, he can. But I'm the only person I know that's mentioned this. Is that's the natural bioplasm. The negative scientific bioplasm is the black goo.
Yeah,
and that
goo. It's goo versus goo. There's the goo from outer space. Right. It's the intrusive goo, and then I've now discovered. I think that our Earth, the planetary Earth mother, the planetary animal mother, Sophia, who is the living embodiment of this planet, she produces her own goo. And so it's literally a battle of goo versus goo.
You're right, man. You can see it that way, right?
And another conclusion I've come to with this black goo, because we know that the ancient sorcerers were involved with it, it was the original internet. In other words, you're a sorcerer in France, and I'm a sorcerer in Germany. Well, we
Right.
immerse ourselves in the black goo, and then we're talking telepathically over hundreds of miles, getting reports of enemy troops and shit like that.
Interesting. I didn't even think about
It's a
that. But
communication device, the black goo.
wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Interesting.
that's why the occult and spycraft are they're one and the same.
Yeah.
They are
Right.
one and the same.
Yeah. Nowadays, yeah, for sure. Yeah, and they were then. I mean, I think it. And Tim Leaf, he's in that tradition from John Dee, who was, double O Seven, the eyes and ears for the Queen, and all that. And that's why to this day, if you look at the Sean Stone, you familiar with Sean Stone, BuzzFeed? All right, he does a lot of interviews with people. So do I. And Sean's a good guy and everything like that. But he did an interview with Michael Aquino. And in that interview, the thumbnail for that is, I think, a photo of Aquino with Seth next to him. And then on this side is the Queen, Queen Elizabeth I. And you're thinking, what does Queen Elizabeth I have anything to do with any of this? It's because of the British tradition of magic is so venerated. Like, the empire, the capital of magic really is England. And that's why Harry Potter's there and everything. And India, I mean, India is very strong. There's different strengths all around, but in America, New York, that's interesting too, because you have, Crowley going to New York and all that around the same time as Fantastic Beasts and the movie. But anyway, from Merlin, I would say, to John Dee and people like that, all the way through to even some Catholic saints, and all the way through to today, So so you look at, that's why, like, every court had their magician. My great grandfather, Francis Young's name was, no, Sir Francis Bryan was his name. And
O'Brien.
that's in a book. Not O'Brien, but Bryan.
Brian. Sir Francis Bryan.
It was it changed, right? But O'Brien, how do you know that? How do you know about O'Brien?
And I'm way into etymology and names. I'm fixing to I'm fixing to drop a bomb, dude. Based on
Okay.
what you're saying.
All right, well, hold that thought, please,
Okay.
because guess what? Like,